Come to the place for which our Father sighed. We have come over a way that with tears have been watered. We have come treading a path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past, where we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, Thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, Thou who hast by Thy might led us into the light. Keep us forever in the path we pray. Bless our feet straight from the place with our God where we met Thee. Bless our hearts drunk with the wine of the world we forget Thee. Shadow beneath Thy hand, may we forever stand, true to our God, true to our native land. You can go ahead and put her up there. I got one more slide. So hold while I introduce.
Okay.
I'm not sure about you all, but the children singing today has just been so awesome. From the beginning of worship this morning until now, so they deserve another round of applause. Thank you. Yesterday we practiced and one of the children said, that song is too long. And I said, it is, but you sing the part you like, right? We all do that. So they did a really good job. I am standing before you to introduce our speaker for this last section of our Black History Month programming. And our speaker could not be with us today because she is actually traveling currently. So I'll give a short intro and then we'll take it to the screen. Ashley N. Company is a social entrepreneur and she's traveled more than half the world, over 100 countries. Utilizing a dual purpose of structure. She'll talk to you more about that. She is an inspirational storyteller. She's an activist. She's known for delivering impactful talks about Black identity, Africa tourism, cultural competence, and women in leadership. Ashley has started a movement for women and girls of color to reimagine Africa and redefine their concept of community and their concept of identity. A testament to the powerful results that are generated when passion and purpose are strategically aligned. So if you will give your attention to the screens now, and we're going to thank technology for getting our presentation up. Thank you.
Greetings to the South Central Church of Christ. I want to say thank you to Pastor Dublin. I also, of course, want to thank Ms. Shannon Waller for inviting me today. And I hope that my message can be a blessing to you all. I want to say greetings to the members and the guests of South Central Church of Christ. And I also just want to introduce myself to you. So you've already probably started reading the screen and wondering, and if you're wondering what I think you're wondering, the answer is yes. Company really is my last name. I am Ashley in Company, and I want you to learn a little bit more about who I am, where to reach me, and how I like to contribute to the world, my ministry, through my company, Jelani Travel, my charity, Jelani Gives, and also my new brand, In Good Company. So, a little more about me. I am a culture and travel expert, a speaker, and also an author. I have a Amazon #1 best-selling coloring book called Travelish: Black Women Around the World. I'm also a coach, culture and identity coach, supporting Black professionals embrace their cultural growth. I've traveled to over 100 countries. That's more than half the world, as the UN recognizes, the United Nations recognizes 195 countries, and I've been to over 100 of them. I'm also the founder of the social enterprise, Jelani Travel, and the charity Jelani Gives, and that is what a social enterprise is. It has a social impact arm or some way that it gives back. Most social entrepreneurs actually partner with a nonprofit that they give a portion of their proceeds to, or some consistent effort is supported, whether it's in kind or with direct funds, to another nonprofit. I had the right idea to actually start my nonprofit first before I realized it would become a full-fledged company. And so I'm truly a social entrepreneur in every sense of the word. And I also have my new brand under Jelani Travel called In Good Company. And I'll share a little bit more about that with you later. A decade ago, I was disgruntled with my experience as a Black corporate professional. And in fact, I was actually in Raleigh, North Carolina, running a district of over 300 stores, small and large format stores across Raleigh and Durham. And so I'm very familiar with the area. I actually used to live in Briar Creek. It was actually exactly 10 years ago. And so while I was there in that corporate space, I didn't have the tools that I now have today. And so I was frustrated. I was one of the youngest there with a college hire program coming out of Hampton University. And I also was one of the few Black people and also one of the few women. So, and I just didn't have the tools at that time to know how to navigate that space. And so I left. I went off to find my liberation and my peace, and that became travel. What I didn't realize at the time is that I would end up making my life's work to help others experience transformation for themselves without having to leave their job. So my company and myself, we've been featured in CNBC Africa, Forbes, SF, Travel and Leisure, and Gladly, just to name a few. Again, I have Black professionals exhausted and burnt out from microaggressions and racism. Go from feeling powerless to powered by our celebrated history and our collective Blackness, enabling us to lead with authenticity at work and in life. And just speaking specifically about, our collective Blackness and our celebrated history, I'm so grateful for this particular celebration that the church is doing during this Black History Month, because I know the theme is Shosholoza, which is a South African, Zimbabwe, kind of a southern Africa regional word and a very popular song. It's in some ways known as the second national anthem for South Africa because it's that powerful. It was like the rallying cause and the rallying cry in song to keep the miners working in apartheid. So through those really difficult conditions of colonization and the separation and all of the hate and all of the unfairness that they had to endure, Shosholoza definitely was a power to the people anthem that would just extend that pride. And so I just think that that is really important work and really important messaging. So I'm so grateful that South Central Church of Christ is, holding space for this. And I thank you all for just allowing me to be a part of it because I want to just share a little bit more about how our collective um, blackness, our celebrated history, all these things is not just within the African American space. It extends and you see the similarities of oppression as well as victory and pressing on. You see so many similarities within Africa, but especially South Africa. And so as I share with you more about my travel journey and some of the experiences that we offer, I think that South Africa and Zimbabwe and Zambia might be a really special trip for the church to take part in, and I would love to host you all there. So just a little bit more about me. I also was a 2019 Essence She Got Now Award winner and a 2016 Hampton University 40 under 40 MVP. So my vision, as you heard me mention before, I have a company, Jelani Travel, I have a nonprofit, Jelani Gives. I'm also now a coach under my new brand, in the company. I have a coloring book. I've actually done a lot more that isn't necessarily listed here, but no matter what I've done or how my companies have evolved over the last 10 years of being a successful entrepreneur, is that my vision has always remained the same. So the output might look different, what's happening might evolve, but my vision has always been a world where Black people can freely embrace and love themselves. And my mission is to help Black professionals reimagine their greatness by embracing their cultural wealth. So within the company, I do workshops, corporate training, one-on-one coaching, and wellness retreats. With Jelani Travel, that is our travel experiences or vacations with a purpose, where it's not necessarily a retreat unless it's a custom trip where the co-host or the audience or the group that's going wants it to be a retreat. Otherwise, it's just, just a great experience where you don't have to plan anything, where I've already been there and done that and thought of all the things that you would need to know from what to wear, what to do, how to get in the country, how to get out of the country, how to be safe, how to just have a great time and really make the most of your experience, especially if it's in the motherland, because I know how sacred that is, especially if it's your first time to have that journey home. So I'll talk a little bit about Jelani Travel and in the company, but in essence, they're one and the same because, again, the vision never changes. So within the company specifically, we're curing Black burnout by reconnecting Black professionals to their greatness with a unique dose of history, heritage, and personal inspiration in the motherland. And so below, you can see some of the clients that I've worked with, from Google to BuzzFeed to Uber. And we were recently named on the Forbes Next 1,000 list of American companies. So who we service? Again, Black professionals exhausted and burnt out from microaggressions, we want them to feel whole and complete in their world and showing up authentically without the mask. But within the company, while we target Black professionals, this is the same goal that we have for any person participating in a Jelani travel trip. So what we offer are Black corporate wellness workshops, and also the Black corporate wellness retreat. And of course, with Jelani travel specifically, we just offer vacations with a purpose that's already planned and curated for you and for the culture in mind. So one thing that we always just like to share is that the Black corporate wellness is a strategic imperative. It's not just a good thing to do or to take back to your job, to your company, and let them know, oh, this sounds like something that they do. It's actually a strategic imperative. It is very needed because we need to create this space where there's corporate wellness, but they don't necessarily take into account the Black burnout, the microaggressions, the things that we have to face that others don't in the hustle culture of corporate America. And so the transformation looks like if you're feeling undervalued, if you feel self-doubt, if you're feeling stressed and exhausted, or even sometimes lost, with our programming, with our coaching, with our retreat, with even just the simple Jelani travel trip, going to the motherland is healing. And so even at the most basic concept of just I'm going on a vacation to have a good time, you're still going to leave with more than just a vacation, with more than just a trip. You will feel celebrated, you will feel more confident, you will be rejuvenated, and you absolutely will feel like you belong. And you can even hear from some people who have participated in both our trips and our workshops at their respective companies. So I'll just call it out one with Ashley Jane, who is a senior HR director at Meta, also known as Facebook. She said the unique angle Ashley company took to help us reimagine our greatness was truly wanted and needed. We are looking forward to having her back for another workshop, and she gained even more clarity on her trip to Ghana. She became more productive at work. So we hear things like that all the time. But I just wanted to just kind of share with you all what we kind of have going on with our new brand into the company. But specifically, I know that Shanetta has some questions for me to answer, and so I also want to do that. And one thing I also did forget that this is our 10-year anniversary. We'll be celebrating in Ghana this year. So Shanetta said to me, congratulations on celebrating 10 years of Jelani Travel. I see your tagline is curated for the culture. And what ways have you been able to achieve that? So, curating for the culture is something that's really important to us because it's like a play on words with a kind of a slang phrase that we do things for the culture and the culture needs for Black people, but it's also very direct and we're actually curating it for the culture, the enrichment of going to a new place and truly experiencing it almost as if you have family there. Because I have gone and I have traveled and I have lived in these places or spent extensive amount of time in these places and built the relationships so that you don't have to feel awkward, that you don't have to feel like you don't know what to do, what to say, what to wear, how you should approach a situation. All of that is taken care of for you. So, in the ways that we've been able to do that is just by making Africa travel easy. Because between the media, with all the negative stereotypes, to the media having you think that Africa is just a country instead of 54 different countries with so much diversity, so much richness, so much fullness, we are able to really help you tap into the truth and be able to reimagine Africa directly, and therefore reimagine yourself and your connection to it. Then I asked, what is the history of Jelani travel? How was she born? Another great question. So the history of Jelani travel really started with, I kind of spoke about it in my bio, where I was so frustrated and just felt so lost because I was the first in my family to go to college, the first in my family to have a corporate job. My grandmother had my mom at 15, my mom had me at 18, and as a result, both of them entered the military as a way to escape poverty. And so they just didn't have the knowledge base to support me in walking this new path and blazing this new trail. And I didn't find a mentor right away. Like there's things I would know now to do, but I didn't at the time. And so I decided that I would leave. And the plan was to just travel on my own for a year, kind of like a gap year, and then go to grad school for them to teach me what kind of business to start or what to do next. But while I was on that journey traveling for a year by myself, I knew I was leaving. So I taught myself Spanish before I left. And once I left, I did all of Central America, most of South America, and East Africa. When I got to Kenya, it changed everything. I was so transformed, and I just thought to myself, I could not allow myself to just have this transformational experience, and I had to share this with others. And so I thought to myself, well, I'll start with young people because they're more impressionable, and I felt like I could really pour into them. And so in 2013, 10 years ago, I started what was then called Jelani Girl. And I brought, and I had a tough time getting people to see my vision, so I ended up paying for the girls myself. 3 girls, we went to Ghana. Um, and so that's kind of where it started. But then once I made it happen and people saw the end product, they bought in. Not only were they wanting to support in any way that they can, but they also wanted to go. So it got to a point where I had 5 girls and 30 adults wanting to be chaperones. And that's when I saw the business need where I can create experiences for adults and use the proceeds from that to support my nonprofit. And so that is how Jelani Travel was born. Because then after that, when I started building it for the adults, it became Jelani Travel. And now we've even since the pandemic, we've changed the nonprofit from Jelani Girls to Jelani Gives. And so we support boys and girls. The next question, how do you see travel as political, protest, liberation, empowerment, advancement? Every last one of those words is how I see travel. Because travel for us, historically, we were not supposed to be traveling. Historically, the automobile, the bus, the plane, none of that was meant for us. We were supposed to be, 3/5 the person, or still enslaved, or just still in the Jim Crow era. So there never was a space created for us where we could just travel freely and feel safe. So the Green Book is a historical document that was made so that Black travelers knew where to go and which towns were sundown towns where you could possibly be lynched by angry white mob terrorists during that time. And so you would know not to go through there, or if you did go through there, you have to make sure your travel plans were during the day. And so the fact that we've come such a long way where we still travel despite that, we just figured out ways to do it, like with that document, with the Green Book, with just the network of supporting each other and through storytelling and by any means necessary. And even to this day, there's places that in the outdoor space that you don't necessarily see droves and droves of Black people doing, but it comes from a history of us not being allowed to for so long. So it just wasn't a part of our generational makeup and in our family's tradition. But we're breaking through that space more and more. And so I think all of that is a part of the protest, is a part of liberation and the empowerment and the advancement. Because Audre Lorde talks about radical self-care. And travel is a part of that because the more you travel, especially outside of the US, the more you see that globally we are the majority. Even though we've had to check boxes growing up and hear that we're a minority in this country, across the world, Black and brown people are the global majority. Descendants of Africa are the majority. The African diaspora, we are the majority. And so traveling and seeing that and feeling that, it is really hard to explain unless you've done it. And the more you do it, just the more you realize what you're connected to. And you walk a little straighter because it's hard to tell you you're inferior or you're less than subconsciously or directly when you know and see with your own eyes and can touch, feel, and heal with Black people across the globe. So, who is Jelani Travel? How have you been changed by this work? Well, you probably just kind of heard it in the passion of my voice. It has completely changed me. I did not intend on even creating a travel company when I left my corporate job. I was traveling for myself, had no idea how powerful it would be. And because it was so powerful, and because God ordered each and every one of my steps, I could go into so much details about the fear that came, the people who try to project their fears on me. Because again, I'm still blazing trails. This is before Instagram comes out. This is before Black travel influencers. I'm out there figuring it out on my own. People telling me, don't do it, stay home. What are you thinking? Why would you leave that job? And how are you going to support yourself? All these things that they're saying. And I was able to push through and have these experiences that I dare not take this for granted. I have to share this with other people. So I've been completely transformed. I know who I am. I'm closer to God because of my relationship with travel, because it's been my relationship with the earth, my relationship with nature, my relationship with so many human beings that I've come into contact with who have protected me, who have prayed over me. And so I've absolutely been changed. And thank you for that question. Why did you choose to focus on trips for Black women? Well, as Brother Malcolm X said, we are the most disrespected, neglected, just demographic out there. So we need it the most. Everybody should travel. It would change the world if everybody had to travel, because we would have to see each other's humanity. We would have to recognize there's so many similarities. We would have to break down the barriers of ignorance, which causes fear. So everybody should, but Black women, I think it's extremely important. Our company does have space for men to be on certain trips, and on custom trips, anybody can be on custom trips. So we have hosted everybody, but when we have an open trip that's saying this is for Black women only, we mean it because we want to create that safe space, because we are often so neglected. What has been my favorite trip and why? That is a really good one. My favorite trip, I would say, I'm assuming it's a Jelani travel trip that you're asking, because my favorite is trip in general. Out of all the 100 countries, I can never answer directly. I guess the simple answer would be Kenya, Zanzibar. It was my first introduction to Africa, so that was really special to me. But it's also one of our best sellers. between Kenya, Zanzibar, and our South Africa, Zambia, Zimbabwe trip. Those two places, which that was also really special to me because I actually lived in South Africa for 2 years. Like I really loved it. But the trips themselves, there's been trips where my whole family was on it. So that was really special. There's been trips. The first trip I took women to Africa was really transformational. You know, so this is kind of the first trip where, yeah, so I didn't, this is how I think about favorite trips. So let's see the next question. What are your philanthropic accomplishments through this work? I think I touched on that a little bit with how I'm a social entrepreneur and we give back through Jelani Gives. Currently, anybody who signs up for a trip automatically sponsors the fees for a U.S. passport for a young adult that needs one. So that's $150 that automatically you're supporting our charity Jelani Gives, who supports young people with passports. But we also do service trips. So different from missionary trips, there's one day out of the vacation that is dedicated to supporting young people in need, typically around literacy. We'll bring and donate books for the youth that have Black main characters. That's typically, but in the past we've done different things because if they say they have a different need, we don't want to just tell them what they need. We let them tell us. And so we have done hygiene products in the past. We've done toys during Christmas time. So yeah, we serve on some of our trips, and every person that attends a trip is always supporting our charity to give back with U.S. passports. What is the visa process for your most visited countries? Which countries have some of the more difficult or taxing processes for passports and visas? What advice do you offer to travelers who will want to go through the visa process? So the great news is we will walk you through all of that. We have guides, but the most taxing one would be Ghana. And again, we walk you through it. Nobody's ever had an issue. You just do it in advance. It costs about $60. But we do walk you through that. The thing that makes it more difficult is that you have to mail it in. But honestly, everybody does it. We walk you because the guide is just so easy. But the one that is the most visited would be our Kenya Zanzibar trip. And it's really easy. You go online, we still give you a guide. It takes 2 to 3 days to give it right back to you. You don't have to mail anything in. So that one's really easy. And then our South Africa trip, that doesn't have any visas. You don't need a visa with an American passport. But the simple advice, even if you're not going through our company to travel and you just want advice on visas, all you have to do is go to the U.S. embassy. The country's embassy. So let's say you type Kenya embassy and it would Google and it'll pop right up. Or what actually might be better is the U.S. embassy of Kenya. So they'll break down everything you need to know for it. What are curated trips and what is your process when you design trips? So curated means that I am taking all of the knowledge of the last 20 years of traveling over 100 countries and specifically living in most of the countries that I actually curate trips for in Africa. And I take that knowledge with what you're wanting for a custom trip. Like you might have some goals, but I might know this would work better based on your goals. With I know about the traffic, I know about the best days to do this, the best experiences. I know that you'll be more tired than you think you would after this, and you should do this. Like I'm pulling all of the knowledge together to curate the experience that you are looking for and that you didn't even know you were looking for in some cases. Some people are such well-traveled people, and they know exactly what they want. They just don't feel like doing it. Some people are like, I don't know the first thing. Like, I don't know anything. I'm scared. That's why I never went. And we will do all of that for you. If a group wants to take a curated trip, what is the process, group size, and how does travel funding work? Can groups plan ahead and pay in installments? How much time is needed to plan for and pay for a curated trip? It's really up to you. I would say no less than 3 months. Most people take 6 to 9 months. When it's larger organizations or churches that we work with, a lot of times they want a full year. So it really just depends because if it's just like a committee, or it just really just depends on the group. But I would say you wouldn't want to wait any less than 3 months, and most people don't need more than a year. So anywhere in between that would be fine. You can pay ahead, and you can pay installments, monthly installments. We do that all the time. And there is no minimum or maximum. If only 2 people want to go, that's fine. If 200 people want to go, that's also fine. Um, and so the process just looks like going to our website here, um, gojelanitravel.com/custom, or you just go to gojelanitravel.com, and when you click on it, you'll see the custom made page, and you'll just drop your email in there, and we'll automatically email you a form. The form is really quick and brief, but it's going to give us a general idea of where you want to go, when you think you might want to go. And again, you can write in there, well, I don't know when I want to go, when's the best time to go. I don't know exactly where I want to go, but here's what I want to do. I have to have beach. You know, if you have to have beach, I'm not going to send you to Zimbabwe. You know, so I'll be able to help you with that. And then we can also set up a consultation call to even talk more through what you're hoping to get, and I'll give you more information. But otherwise, I would be able to design an itinerary, and we would collaborate. So once I get finished with the draft, you'll be able to look at it and say, this works for me, great, or as I talk to some people, I think we would rather do this, or I didn't think about this, and you can make some changes. But that's the process and how it works. It's really painless, you know, because again, even if you don't know the first thing that you don't know, I will ask the question and I'll figure out exactly what you want. Like, I'm pretty good at that. What advice do you have for other aspiring Black entrepreneurs? Um, One thing that I regretted is, well, there's one is, if you can help it, don't do it all yourself. It gives you more knowledge in the end, but you waste way more time. So, like an example, at the time that I applied for our 501c3 status, that would have cost me like $800. And at that time, that was still a lot of money for me, but the time that it took me to figure out how to fill that 31-page document out, I definitely, I absolutely should have paid, raised the money, whatever, that $80 to have somebody else do it. Now, the thing is, if I want to start doing it for the people, then I would have that knowledge, but I never did it for anybody else. But I have this knowledge, but it's not useful. It just took up a lot of time. So, and that came up a lot. I was bootstrapping a lot, and you need that in some cases, but you also need to know when the cost benefit really doesn't have the advantage for you if you're spending too much of your time and energy on things that somebody else should be doing, and you can be operating in the area that made the most sense of the business that you're trying to create. And then the second thing is to, so the first one was to pay somebody else. The for things that you don't have to do once you make that assessment. But the other thing is when you are feeling like you know you have a passion for something, you need to mesh that up with an honest assessment of is that what the market is asking for? Because if you don't, you will be running off of your passion for probably a long time, but eventually that will run out and there might not be any profit. So like when there's not any profit but you still have passion, you don't care as much or you're not worried about that, you just believe that it's gonna come instead of just listening to the market and what they're saying they want from you so that the profit will come. And then with that profit, if your passion really wasn't aligned with that, you could go do some passion projects off the side with the money that you made from the profit that you made from giving people what they wanted. So just making sure that when you're entering into entrepreneurship, that you're actually solving a problem that the people know that they have. If you don't, you're going to be spending a lot of time trying to educate them on why they should do it, and that can be costly. What is the future of Jelani? Well, that kind of goes into the very first part of the presentation where I shared about our new brand in the company. So the future of Jelani is great. Jelani means greatness, and like I said, it may evolve, but the mission always stays the same, and the vision, excuse me. And so the future is to get more Black people to experience Africa, to reimagine their own greatness, to embrace their cultural love, to be truly proud of who they are authentically, whether they are at home or at work. Thank you all for all of these questions. I hope that I hear from you all soon, whether it's your individual anniversary trips, couple trips, group trips, whatever you want. And it's not just Africa that we do, that's just where I specialize in, that's where that passion came from. But when I learned my lesson and started listening to the market, so many people were wanting to go other places, and so we have opened up some other places on our private trips from Colombia and South America, St. Lucia, the Caribbean, Mexico, Dubai, Jordan, really anywhere you want to go, we can make it happen. But if you have no idea where you want to start, I'm always gonna sway you over to kind of like the Caribbean and Africa and just the Black spaces. I think it's such an amazing thing to experience. Thank you all for your time, and I hope you all have a great rest of the day.
Program. So I just want to say thank you all, and this is great. Welcome. I'm so glad you have so much knowledge and speakers that we have. And since we have such a long day, I could go on and on about who did what, but I'm just going to pause and I just want you all to see what it takes to do it. All the people that I'm looking at the audience, I think like everybody that's here had a part in it and was able to support this ministry, Black history. First of all, I want to just go over the speakers. The first Sunday we had Shannon Trapp. She brought to us the HBCUs and how the graduates of HBCUs contribute to our economy. I thought it was very interesting. And of course, she had so much information on that. Second Sunday, we had Kiana Alexander, the author. She talked about
someone else in history that I had not heard about, Josephine Leary. And apparently some of her relatives didn't even know about it. So until Kiana brought that person forward. Also on Wednesday night, we had Cameron and Jordan Bennett, who are entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs who have started out. We remember them, most of us remember them as babies coming into this church. And I have to tell y'all, I enjoyed just standing up here for a photo op between both 2 tall drinks of water. Also, our very own, the third Sunday, our sister, Dr. Katie Palmer, she brought to us information and history about her dad, who was one of the original, and I say original, Marines. And I tell you, but we get so much history out of there, it just amazes me. I don't think we have even scratched the surface about our history. So thank you again, Katie, on that. Also, as you just heard, Ashley in company. Thank you, Jeanette, for bringing her to us. I'm amazed at what she does. She helps Black professionals in training, health and wellness, and also she offers trips, that we can go to back to the motherland. I like that. That's really good. Thank you. Also, again, we've had, not just want to go through each Wednesday night, we've had another also made development to us. We have to discuss and talk about the people who came and spoke. That was wonderful. Go more in depth on what they spoke to us about. Also, and then of course today, our pastor, Haku, he brought his family, and he really brought the social alive for us. He talked about the line community there, and hardships they had, and even brought to life the song Social. Thank him for that. And I just want to go through names. First of all, Kendra, thank you so much for the flyer. Thank you, Cynthia. Logo, Kevin, print that flyer. Clarissa Jones and Justin, decorations, thank you so much. And Thelma Best, and I have to these two together, Thelma Best and Miranda Jackson. I call them, and we got a lot of them already in here, so I call accessory. I told this name accessory. But they have talents and abilities. They just keep adding his stuff to it, just adding on to it. That's it. You can say, I can wish what they do. It's like, okay. Also, again, what we do without technology, Janetta, Lawler, she's on the team, thank God she's on our team. And everybody's on our team. We got our brother Moffitt, and then there's Kent Gibbs. We just thank y'all so much because without y'all, we couldn't present this to the world. And then again, I want to go, let's see, let me get, I got a list of people. Okay, here we go. Pathway. Again, I already said Thelma Best. Melvin Brickway. Barbara Kane, Patsy Evans, Kara Grimsley, Marlon Lee, and her daughters Kayla, Kiara, Pearl Robinson, S. Gillian, Lauren Murphy, Miranda Cole, Charlotte Battle, Deborah Jones, Eddie Barfield, again, the Green Sea of Pearl, and of course our photographer, Kamal Owen, and of course our own SCcoC-Black, who just jumps in there and just chilling us at separate. Thank you so much. And then I want to go through also and ask for our youth singers to please stand where you are. Just stand ready for a nap. But thank y'all so much, and thank you parents for bringing them out. Some of you brought them out for, the practice yesterday, and thank you for that. Brother Cole, as always, will be stepping in and leading our prayers. Brother, Palmer, and I cannot know what I'm saying about my teammates, Katie and, Chanel. Katie and Chanel brought these figures, y'all. She never brought, they put two of them, and she did, work with technology. And then Katie, our own Katie Palmer, brought about, including herself, about 7 people she brought to us. And so this is all this knowledge and wealth of Black history that we have just amongst us, y'all. And I just really appreciate it. And lastly, I just have to thank our pastor, Brother Jelani, once again. He said something last year. This word, go find out, because what you said, show us. I'm going to leave it at that, y'all, and ask him to come. Like I said, show us. Thank you.
I like to do a small token of appreciation. It's not much, but to Shanada, Katie, and Vivian, we will sign up for your needs. You probably got 3 of their own. But in my mind, some needs will help to come up. I want to thank each of you for being here this evening. If you've been a part of the entire experience, then there's no words to really say anything, because the experience has been just beyond gratifying. And when we asked them to do this a year ago, we didn't know how it was going to play out. We just knew God had always done more than we have never stepped down ever. And then to go to an entire month, that's God telling us what we should be doing. I mean, he'll do it every time. So we want to give God the glory, God the Father, the Son, and the Spirit, and for those who've been willing to give just even the smallest amount of your time and your effort. Today has been great, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to do some follow-up, and maybe there will be a trip to the motherland, to some of the motherland. Truly, my hope, I was going to finish out with a PowerPoint of our trip to Legacy, and there's just so many things going on. I just never finished it. So, if God allows me to be able to win tonight, I'm going to do a PowerPoint on the Legacy trip, and that will be the way that we will finish, because that's all a part of this in my mind. So, the way that you have given yourself, the way that you planned it, the way that you allowed the Lord Jesus Christ to use you, there's just nothing else to say. It's just that I'm just so honored to be with you and honored to be a part of what you've done. But there's nobody else in history that's ever done what you've done. Each church has done different things their own way, but not the way this was done. This is the only time in history since creation. It's that unique. It's that unique. And to have the children leading the singing and worship service, and we just, it's a blessed thing for us. For the rest of your life, you should have a vision for what should be normal. And that means that what you saw today is just normal. You just take it to another level and just keep on going. Don't make yourself narrow and limited. There's so much more. So go ahead and live. If you decide to go ahead and live, God is ready. He'll do immeasurably more than we could ever imagine. Let's stand for dismissal. God, we know that the ancestors are going ahead of us. And we know that we are ancestors to somebody. Let us be ancestors who leave a mark. We will do whatever we do for the sake of those coming behind us. Let us be conscious of the fact that we do matter far beyond today, and that our lives will never end, that there always be a memory in somebody's head and somebody's heart somewhere. God said, we just want to praise you for keeping us as a part of your memory, as a part of what you do, what you've done, the way that this church and its members will always be a part of somebody's blessing and somebody's salvation. Thank you again for those who came to the front and stood up to make this happen today. Bless them in everything that they do. In Jesus' name, amen.
I'm glad you made it here.
Speak to my family. What's up, man?
I thought you were singing again?
No, man, that was the younger version. You know, remix.
Wow, what's up?
Thank you.
Yes, you all did. We all did. 1 G, 1 T, right? Good Dallas Run.
You grandma pick that up. She brought some extra set. Yeah. I'm about to got her written all over. Brother Martha, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All righty.
Thank you, all of yours.